Brothers, we're going to be doing in preparation for Madden Bowl. I wanted to pick some of the most, I think, monumental or just like best matchups, best games going into Madden Bowl. A lot of these are going to be between Madden Bowl participants. This one is going to be between Dez and Fancy. This is the finals of the Most Feared Challenge. Fancy is coming off of a first belt win where he kind of essentially put the world on notice of how good Switch Stick is. And Dez is obviously Mr. Consistent, just been really, really good over the last couple of years. And he's really, really good in double mug. Now, at this point in the year, double mug had seen a pretty significant patch, so this is not the this what I like about doing kind of the games that I'm going to be picking for this is I'm not going to be doing a lot of the games where stuff is like super patched. There are some things that are patched here, but in general, most of this stuff is still going to be working. Fancy is going to be in the Cowboys uniforms. Dez is going to be in the Cardinals jerseys. At this point, Dez is running Packers playbook, and it's going to be utilizing this play action cheap play that he has in here, kind of out of bunch strong, which is a nice little play. Fancy, if you take a look here, he is going to still be in the double safety dollar defense as kind of his base. Now, at this point, cover six Willie, I believe, is still working, but we just basically have seen a recreation of that defense by walking this guy over and this guy over here. So, in general, the biggest thing I want to say about the dollar is don't really focus too much on the pressure, but it's a 7-4 blitz, and then we're going to be switch sticking off of it. Now, for teaching purposes, I'm going to try my best to kind of highlight what they're doing post snap in their coverages because I believe it's really, really important to kind of emphasize. So, anyway, we'll just take a look here at these plays. Looks like he's going to go to that cheap motion play, a little bit of a different setup. He's going to go streak, basic corner to this right side, and then he has kind of an underneath mesh combination here. So, what this combo is going to do a really good job of attacking is if Fancy is playing a cover two on this outside, this corner would get open. This is going to attack cover two really on both sides of the field. So let's take a look at what Fancy's coverage ends up being. So as you see here, he is going to have a send four. Notice the play action is going to kind of dumb out and create a pretty clear pocket. But also notice what's Fancy doing. He is in cover four hard flat. Guess what the best defense is to date? Is consistently been this cover four hard flat user over the middle, switch sticking onto really any of these quarters to be able to match. So again, your user is here, and you basically have a triangle to switch stick onto, or if you wanted to, you could switch stick onto the flat defenders. Fancy here, really at this point, pretty clear cut, the best switch stick in the world. Dev's going to go to a seam streak opening play. And at this point, we don't have mid zone KOs, and so those throws are a lot more open, which is why you'll see these seams kind of being shredded consistently. Another little thing about dollar that you might not recognize is that it puts this side safety inside a little bit. So there is tells if Fancy does audible or is in flip double safety, there is a little bit of a tell, to that. All right, so outside zone or little zone run from Dez out of tight open. And now we're going to see Dez go to, so Packers at this point, a lot of audible around. He's going to go to the bunch, I believe this is the bunch wide formation. And this is branch return. He has a little pivot route or return out here. It might be corner divide, but essentially he's creating this combination here to the right side. Again, this combination, if it is cover two, this is going to pop over here on the right side. If it's a cover four hard flat, typically the hard flat will jet out, and you could throw this kind of in this little pocket right here. So it's a great little play. And then on the backside, you'll see a dig flat combination. So again, really just take a look at Fancy's defense here. And this time we're going to see a send five off of edge blitz three. I don't know why he sends five here. Don't feel like that's honestly kind of surprising. And I actually feel like did he run commit? I don't know what happened, but he ends up sending 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the quarterback. Looks like we get a little man up here on the right side. Other than that, it is that edge blitz. And Dez is going to do a really good job of hitting the dig over the middle of the field. Honestly, I feel like I feel like Fancy was out of position there. I don't feel like that was really the defense that he ultimately wanted to be in. But nonetheless, nothing too hurt here. So Dez, again, going to go to that bunch wide here. And again, I believe that this is corner divide because it does have that cool post that he's about to run here. This specific play is a cover three bomb that he's going to. Let's see what he does on this left side. If he shows us the play arc, he probably will right here. So yeah, this is a cover 3 bomb because this is a sharp cutting, not like it's more like a deep post, but he stems it all the way down. And then essentially you have smash return basically. But then the speed out on this outside, what this is gonna do, if this is a third, if this is not a quarter, it's gonna be a touchdown. So we'll see what coverage Fancy goes to here. And we're gonna see a DB Fire kind of mix up here, which is kind of interesting. We see a DB Fire mix up, and we have essentially here, we basically have cover 4, as you see here. I don't know for sure what this was. It could have been a cloud, but looks to be a cover 4 with a vert hook, him user in here. So he's not going to get burned over here, but does immediately hits that return route. And as you see, actually misses the throw there, but that was the correct read, just a little early or a little early in the play to be able to hit it. So again, a lot of honestly mix up from Fancy. Really not his normal stuff that I've seen so far. Here again, he's going to go to another DB Fire. Fancy's kind of known at this point for running a lot of cover 6 Willie or just like the loop, 4-man pressures. But really here, this is another DB Fire. Now this is a standard DB Fire setup. You're going to get this flat, third, half, cloud flat, yellow in the middle of the field with the user. So this is kind of a standard Send 5 shell where you're playing essentially a cover 2. Actually, we get crazy adjusty here. I don't know what he does over here. Is this a flat and a man up on circle? So it gets a little adjusty on a 2nd and long. And yeah, it shows how hard it is to really, I guess, understand these coverages because sometimes, I mean, Fancy's actually adjusting a lot more than what I was anticipating him doing in this game. So see here, Dez is going to go to bunch strong. Going to go to this combination. This is the old school double corner. But he does have 2 seam streaks here. Again, notice kind of where Fancy's user's at. This kind of also key. Another DB Fire setup. Just kind of odd. I'm surprised at how much DB Fire he's running at this point. But basically, quarter, you get the cloud. This is a quarter here, yellow. This looks like to be a man up on the tight end, trying to take away that seam streak directly. And so Fancy actually is going to play pretty good defense here, take away these corner routes, but he is going to allow this check down right here. And honestly, I just feel like Fancy's not playing his... I don't know. This is just a lot of mix-ups. I don't know if it's because he probably plays Dez a lot or knows that Dez is going to be anticipating some of his main stuff, but this is a lot of mix-ups from Fancy. Even going to 6-1 here, which really don't see him do this. And 6-1 to guys at this point, same to this day. This little disengage right here is what we're trying to get up the middle. So we're going to send 1, 2, 3, 4, but our user is going to run into the center. Okay, and then he's going to peel into coverage underneath. And then the base coverage shell is cover 4. So typically it's going to just be that kind of cover 4 there. All right, so let's see what Dez ends up doing. He's going to go to bunch strong, going to play action blocking. The play action blocking is not going to really change too much about this blitz. You're still going to be able to run it. And now we see that is the cover 4. And notice what Fancy does. He was anticipating this cheat wheel. He switch sticks, which is actually a crazy switch stick. Watch what he does here. So Dez is anticipating. This is crazy. So Fancy, normally on this defense is you're going to run into the center, right? So Dez is anticipating this. So he's got a quick dot here to the left side. That's also why Dez has got 15 seam streaks. He's got a seam streak here, and then a cheat motion play, and then a corner. So what this does is if Fancy runs into the center, he can't switch stick immediately. Fancy wants to switch immediately, so he's not going to run in the center, and he's going to switch over here and try to rob this route. So let's watch this in real time again. I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that. I don't know why. Okay, that's okay. Let's okay. All right. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Okay, so you see here, like literally off snap. Watch what happens here. Watch right when he snaps the ball. Look, he's here. He switch sticks here. And then watch. He gets to here, and he's biting directly on this route. Notice Dez is also snap throwing it. And he's able to get a KO. Great defense by Fancy. One of the things that I think Dez actually does a really good job of in this year's game is I think he and I think he does a really good job with his route combos, his audibles, of kind of making it hard to switch stick him. So you see here again, goes the same thing. And that time he was actually going to have it. Look what he does here on the left side. He goes to almost the exact same thing. Fancy, kind of over here. And he's actually in a cover too. So this would actually play this throw for a hot minute. If Dez waits on it, it's a touchdown, right? And you see how bang bang these plays are. He ends up getting a disengage and able to get pressure. This is why pressure is so key. He's going to get Dez on a 4th down early. And that is going to be... Oh, is Dez gonna go for this? Normally you would see him kick here this early. But so he's gonna go to tight open here. Looks like the clock's ticking out. I don't think Dez is gonna go for this. I think he's gonna take a delay and kick it. And kind of interesting that Fancy went to the 6-1 so soon. Anyhow. Alright, so let's go ahead and get to Fancy's offense. And at this point in the year, Fancy is going to be in the Lions offensive playbook and running basically a bunch X nasty into trips tight end. So Dez is going to be in this double mug. And this is when you're going to see this double bug primarily based around these outside guys getting pressure. So Fancy going to be in the Lions offensive playbook. Going to go to smash return first. A little sheddy from Dez. The thing about double bug that we doesn't really get talked about a lot, and I think we might even see Dez in this in Madden Bowl coming up. This defense gets really good sheds, like really really good sheds. So your fan's going to go with a double streak combo on the left side. So he's basically forcing Dez to play cover 4. If this guy goes in on an inside third, this is an easy pass lead here. So kind of just see how Dez plays it. So you see here, he sends this guy, he sends 4, okay? So the read is typically seam streak to flat. So look at Fancy's read. He's got this little crease right here. He's going to try to throw it, catch it, and be able to get a nice first down. Notice that Fancy always comes out in short side bunch, and then he's either going to flip into wide side bunch, or he's going to audible to trip side and flex. One of the great ways to use Lions playbook. Going to go to one of the best setups in the game at a motion cross post. This setup is still good today. And Dez is going to send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people at him and really just kind of heat him up a little bit, play a little basic cover 2. One of the things you're noticing, especially against these compression sets, they're playing a lot of cover 2, but it's inside quarters because, again, they know the pressure is going to get there before you can hit anything over the top of that cloud. So that is the idea. And I think he actually ends up quartering over here, which is ultimately why Fancy takes that running back check down. But kind of a lot going on in that little play right there. All right, so Fancy's going to go to tight end in. This point in the year, you would still go to plays for like running back wheels and things like that. Don't love this play, and this is what can happen out of double mug. If you take a look at what happens here. So it's a slant inside, and then I believe you're containing on the outside. You might not be containing, but I think you can contain. But anyway, as you see, he loops this tackle, able to get the pressure in. When you get this right here, this defense is unbelievable. And that still happens to this day. That still happens very, very much so in this game. And it's one of the best ways to get pressure out of double mug at this point. It's just that simple send 4. And again, I think any good defense in this game is going to have a variation of a send 4 that's going to be really decent. The send 4 allows you to force some type of pass pro. It also allows you to play like really good switch stick defense out of it. Fancy going back to the run twice here. Going to get out of there with Fred T. Is that Jonathan Taylor or Fred? That's Fred Taylor. All right. Going to go base again. I think that's the 3rd straight time he's called it. Gotten about 4 there, 3. Kind of I think Fancy's just trying to get 7, because if Fancy gets 7, he's now got a lot of leverage over Dez. He's kind of up a stop to a degree. Hits the seam streak on this right side. It's been a big dot in a long time. So what you see Dez end up doing here, he sends that 4. Look at this real quick, though. Like he almost got, I think that's kind of coming in free, but because this is a hard flat or just a zone dropped, that throw right there, nice little crease, able to throw it. Had the tight end on the other side too, and Fancy's up 7-3. So looking good for Fancy out of the gate, and now Dez gonna get his second crack at it on offense, and kind of see what Fancy does defensively if he continues to play more exotic, more kind of change things up a lot, or if he goes back to if he stays in 6-1, if he goes back to the other stuff. Looks like he is going to stay in 6-1 cover 4 base shell here. And we'll just see. You know, he was kind of getting dotted in dollar, then he goes to 6-1 and bam. And so we see here kind of a cover 2-ish play, another seam straight from Dez, another completion. Why are these completed? Because they don't have mid zone KO on your safeties. You have to have mid zone KO on your safeties in this year's game. It is amazing to me that that was just discovered. Like that has needed to be a thing all year. So, anywho, still trying to get that disengage. Going to go tight open here on the right side. That is kind of a scary read there. And Fancy is doing a little bit of, still kind of doing a little bit of like, I'm going to really adjust. He's not switch sticking as much as he did in his first belt win this year. So he's actually kind of adjusting as opposed to really switch sticking. There he almost lurks him underneath on that running back streak that's so popular out of on strong sets. And kind of a scary read from Dez. He's going to go to trips, going to go to PA slot corner, try to get a simple play here. Obviously, you see why 6-1 is kind of The defense completely misaligns. And he's going to throw a high ball and hit a corner right on the left side. So one of the most popular coverages in the game, and I think a really good coverage, is this guy on a cloud. Problem is, because you're in 6-1, you see how this guy is pressed up. So if he's not pressed up, he'll back up to like here. Because he's pressed up, he can't get back fast enough because the movement in this game is so bad. And so you see he's only basically playing a 10-yard depth. That's why Des went to PA slot corner, because he gets a deeper corner there. And as you see, this is an inside quarter, so it's never going to play to the sideline. And so that is, that's why Des gets the touchdown. And, Fancy really just kind of a byproduct of the defense he's in. Des going to go for 2 here. Really interesting decision. I'm not sure why. Must just be very confident in his offense. And he almost catches it. So I guess if he can catch stuff like that, that would make you really confident in your offense. So, all right, second drive for Fancy coming up. Shout out to Des Dad in the stream. All right, motion RPO zone alert. Love this play. Notice that Fancy stems up the out route all the way. He's going to be able to throw that quick flat, or he could throw the streak on the left, or he could just hand it off. One of my favorite RPOs in the game because it just has a lot in it built within the play to be able to attack a variety of different defenses. Here we're going to see a bunch nasty flip back to the wide side. Motion cross post for Fancy. Notice when you flip it, you also get a faster motion over here on the right side. Des does send some heat. Fancy gets an inaccurate on a high point. And, you also notice that, like, again, you don't see Des switch sticking as much as I think you would normally see him, honestly. So, kind of interesting. Fancy going to go to trips flex. Primary reason you go to this formation is for motion Y post. And he's going to go with the double streak setup again. This time Des has that bagged up, kind of cross-manned it up a little bit, but able to open up that return route to the left side. And that's going to bring up the second quarter. So a lot of things that we still see today being practiced in this game that was played back in, I think this is October, like mid-October this was played. And there, little post to the tight end. Kind of an interesting play out of Bunch Nasty, but it's still decent. And we're going to see Fancy get back into that trips. So notice Dez is actually out of mug, and he's running that cover 6 Willie. And there you see there's that pressure, and there's that sack. And it's kind of it's a kind of interesting because Dez jumps into the cover 6 Willie, which is, he's his main defense last year was this double safety go walk down. And now you're seeing him running it again this year, even though he was more in mug. Here we're going to see halfback angle from Fancy with about a 15, really 17-yard speed out. Don't love that. I'd like to see it down one more. It's going to be easier to switch stick. It's going to be harder to throw. But you got a drag, you got a Texas route, you got a seam streak, flat to pull out this flat zone. So what you're looking for is you're looking at this pocket right here, really this pocket right here, and then this pocket right here. Des going to go with kind of your standard trip shell, which is just cover hard flat third or quarter, 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 and then this could be a potential cloud, and this is a man up on the tight end there. So anyway, at this point, you basically see how this is going out. Fancy's over here. This is the most open player. This would potentially have a chance, but that could be switch sticked. And so takes that simple read to the running back, able to get 13 yards. That's one of the most underrated throws and trips. Just consistently very effective, very good, easy to get open. And is going to jump back into double mug. So didn't like how the dollar was looking, even though he got a sack and felt like he had a better chance to stop him in dollar. Anywho, got to get out of there with Tucker. And, Fancy has shown a consistent halfback base inside zone willingness to run the ball out of this bunch X nasty. Here's a red zone combo for trips. I believe that this is tight end in. He's going to hitch here. He's going to in here. He's got kind of about a 10 to 15 yard out route here. And then on this left side, you've got a flat and that running back wheel that comes stock built into the play. So you see here, flat, wheel into the backside. Going to be good against cover two. Good read from Fancy. I really like how Fancy, if you watch Fancy play, you can tell when you watch him read the defense. Des to a degree as well, but especially Fancy, he's got his progressions and he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like it's boom, 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 and very systematic. Fancy's also not going to be somebody that's going to call a ton of combos, but he's going to be really, really efficient with the plays that are in his playbook, and those are going to be the highest optimized, most optimized plays available to him. Typically about 10 to 15 plays that you're going to see Fancy kind of primarily utilizing. Aside from like red zone situations, but even red zone situations, these are pretty standard red zone combos. Flat zig, backside in, pretty standard. So it's always kind of interesting me to watch these guys in the red zone and look at the plays they run. And I'm telling you, since Madden 22, maybe Madden 21, the red zone combos have basically not changed that much, to be honest. There's maybe one or two little things, but nothing major. It's really been flat zig, hitch post, hitch slant, hitch dig, hitch out route, hitch corner, using the hitches to pull the the cloud flats. Kind of been a tactic that's really been useful for a long time. So anyway, there you see the belt. Now Fancy gets back into dollar and back into DB Fire, and I don't understand what he's trying to do in that. Like, just not sure why he's in that DB Fire 2. DB Fire 2 is kind of universally accepted to be not a great blitz at this, not a great blitz, can potentially get double pressure, but anywho, Doug's gonna go 5 out here. I do think part of the reason why Fancy is doing this is because at this point in the year, nobody really had an answer for play action blocking out of this dollar. And I think that's really the main reason why you're seeing Fancy get out of this, because Dez has so many good play action plays in this playbook that if he sees you in dollar, he's going to pretty much stay in play action. As you see here, now even if this is 6-1, he's going to go PHE verticals, go to this play a lot, kind of freestyle out of it. We've got three streaks, 4 streaks, and almost got looped. And 4th and 7, another 4th down for him. And again, this is just a byproduct at this point too of just a lot of pressure from this 6-1 being generated for Fancy. That is kind of interesting because the dollar really is not generating a ton of pressure for him, but the 6-1 is generating pressure. And if you think about the 6-1, it to a degree is very similar to the dollar because it's based out of a cover 4 shell. You're kind of adapting out of that. PA double post here, kind of a change up play. And unfortunately, Fancy, I don't know what he's switch sticking. He's trying to go to the corner, but he had the corner bagged. He ends up getting himself out of position, and Dez able to take advantage of the switch stick over the top. Does again going for 2. You see 6-1 for Fancy, kind of standard red zone defense at this point, and it does look like Dez is going to back up, kick his field goal, and go up by 6. And all right, so let's see. Fancy. About 2 minutes left. One of the biggest things you always learn in these settings is kind of game management, situation management. How does Fancy call his plays here? There's that angle route again to that right side, as you see. Just a quick throw, and you could tell like that's a hot read for Fancy. That's one of his first reads on the play. He's probably looking fade flat, and then he's working that backside Texas drag. I would assume. So, anywho, going to verticals. Gonna go verticals. Haven't seen this a lot. Flat route to the right side. Really everything bagged up. Gonna try to throw this deep fade route. Almost pops him over the top. And that's gonna bring up a 3rd and inches. So Fancy right there, probably just taking a shot. Second quarter, you really just want to take all this clock. The fact that Dez is ahead in this game is crazy to me. But he is, I don't know how he got ahead. I think he held Fancy to 3. So they both held each other to 3. Here, Dez, this is what Double Mug can do for you. Notice he brings the slot corner into the A gap. He's going to send 6. You see the send 6, good pressure. Fancy sends 5 out, which is kind of surprising against this. And really he's trying to hit this, but this just pressure's just too fast, just can't get it out. This would be open if he was able to have time to be able to hit it, but not able to. Gonna bring up a 4th and inch. It's kind of a key down opportunity for Dez to get a stop and be able to go up 2 possessions going into halftime, which is significant in this game at this point in the year. Really at any point in the year, but especially at this point in the year, like being able to go up 2 possessions is really, really important. So for his bread, he's going to go to trips. I just don't love that play. I don't love this play at all. Yeah, I mean, just everything took forever to get open. So Dez does a really, really good job here. I think he sends 6-1, and he just sends 6, right? So he sends 6, and then he mans everybody up. So he scissored over here to take away that running back wheel, man up here, and then he's got this guy all by himself. And I mean, if you're fancy, streak, flat, wheel, which takes a long time, backside in. I thought it was a terrible combo. He did have the running back, but very late. And I just thought situationally, there's so many other plays he could have called there in Lions that is a little better short yardage, 4th and inches. I think he literally had 2nd and inches, 3rd and inches, 4th and inches. So, anywho, just not a great deal. Des loves this little tight way off with a stem up on that out route, got the bubble to the outside, and he's going to get 1 yard. So, Des honestly in a really good spot here. He can kind of clock this a little bit, and he can also put himself in a position to get a touchdown, which will be huge. Fancy's going to stay in that 6-1. Um, yeah, just kind of interesting when you really look at this game. Fancy defensively is kind of outsmarting himself almost. I mean, it just seems like he's not what he ran last tournament, where he was so good on defense, is not really what you're seeing here. You're seeing a little bit more, I don't know, just adjusting going on than you would normally see versus switch sticking. I don't see a lot of switch sticking from him. There he did, left side, but then he got out of position against the running back. So 3rd and 1. You notice Dez taking all this clock. He has taken Fancy's timeouts. Kind of smart by Dez there. He has 3 timeouts in his bag. Able to take that all the way down, call timeout, get himself in a good position to be able to now have a good play call on 3rd and 1. I think one of the things that you'll notice in MCS games, and one of the things that I'm a big believer in, is you have to. This is what back when this was a glitch. This is something you really can't do anymore. This was actually one of Dez's best plays. This like crazy 15 people on a corner route, a completely illegal formation, but he was able to get the touchdown, and now it's 23-10. So the game really flipped there. But the thing I was going to say is what I've noticed in these MCS games, just watching a bunch of tape, trying to get better, trying to learn from these guys. One of the things you'll see is a lot of times when they get in these key situations, these like 3rd and 1, 3rd and inches, 4th and inches, 4th and 5, 4th and 10. Sometimes their play calls are kind of and I think it's because they want to try to break a tendency, but in doing so, I think they give themselves they don't call the best play possible for them sometimes, not always, but sometimes. So Fancy gonna get back to motion wide post. Don't love this combo here. And you see gets bagged up. I just feel like Dez is kind of in this defense, right? And we know in this defense, right, we're going to get this 7-4. And Fancy, when you're in trips tight end really can't handle that send 4 very well because it doesn't have a great play action play. So if you're going to get looped, you've got to prepare, either pass pro or you put a little faster developing routes. You had a corner route and a post route, kind of attacking to a degree the same areas. Just didn't love that play from him. Um, Tight open here with a crazy wheel route to the right side, a seam streak. Fancy loves this tight open at this point. And that's not really that open. I feel like Fancy to agree is just not playing good, also, at this point. Dez and Dollar, inside zone for Fancy. Probably just wants to get out of half. Almost breaks it. And that should be it for the half. So we'll come out back in the second half and finish breaking down this tape. Our boys, second half of action. Fancy's ball. And this is a critical drive for him. He needs to make it one possession. He's going to go to motion cross post. Going to try to work this backside combo. Hits that slant and gets a nice gain on first down. All right, so Fancy's got the ball about midfield here. That's going to be in that double mug. And Fancy going to be flipping bunch X nasty into the wide side, going to that motion cross post. Going to the corner route play with the running back flat. And able to hit that cheap motion fade quick throw against zone. Really nice read over there on that left-hand side. Hard for deep zones to play it. Hard for flat zones to play it. And really just hard for this double mug because you don't have a slot corner over there to be able to contain that route. But you do get nice pressure there from Dez. And he is going to get out of there. Get about 6 there from Fancy. But nice check down to the flat. And again, kind of the back and forth of the real back and forth of this game is a lot to do with can you block this pressure? And there, nice block running back. Get out of there with Chase, Jake Chase to the end zone. First and goal at the 1 yard line. Fancy's and Lions book again, and he is going to go down to I-form close stretch. Try to just punch it in on the ground. See what the red zone defense is for Dez. I would assume it is going to be goal line 5-3-3 for Dez. Pinch D line. Stand in this gap right here. Going to get an instant sack, and now that's huge for Dez, honestly. If you're Dez, you're trying to hold a 3 here. That's like step 1. Fancy going to go back to the eye close, second and goal. This time probably not going to pass. Going to go to that stretch, stretches it out, and he is able to not get in there. You see the facial expression from Fancy. Thought he got in. That's going to be about 3rd and goal on the 1. So, Dez exhibiting some goal line fight. And just notice that goal line 5-3, it's an instant sack if they pass in center. Probably sliding the D-line inside. Back to this I-form, stretch left, weak side stretch. Able to get in there with a Koye. And that's what Fancy needed to do. Now, Fancy is going to go for 2 here. This looks like a 2-point combo. This is an interesting play, but this is out of that bunch Y flex, I believe. And this receiver is treated like a far outside receiver in the formation, so he's going to smoke screen him, and then he's going to have this flat, and then something to pull the yellow inside, and basically he's looking to throw this little smoke screen here to the right side, depending on the combos. So you see here, off initials, right, the flat, see how this is pulling that flat, see how the yellow is going to pull to this underneath in route, so he could pass lead this route up, and basically get this right in there for a quick throw. He's not going to throw it. He had it. Totally didn't throw it. Decided it wasn't. Didn't want to score 2 points there. I don't know if he was just looking for something else over the middle. But there you go. So Dez is going to take over. Up a touchdown. Up a stop. If Dez keeps scoring, basically he wins the game. The entirety of the game has been put onto this offense. And really for Fancy, it's time to play some defense. And guess what he does? Starts out the second half back in the dollar. Love to see it. And he is going to be moving some stuff around. I'd like to see him switch sticking. And here we go. Back into the send 4. Back into the switch stick. And very first play, guess what? He switch sticks to that inside quarter. Pulls him inside a little bit more. And attacks that streak. Gets the stop he needs. And he's getting the ball back with potential to go take the lead or tie the game. So huge play for Fancy right there, and exactly what I was talking about the dollar. You know, the 7-4 from dollar was switch sticking. That is the defense in this game. Little kind of a weird route combo, but able to hit that guy over the middle of the field. Little high-low read between, I guess, the post and the in route. But good read from Fancy. Gonna go motion cross post. Seam streak on the right side. Des just leaves it. You can't leave a seam streak in this game. That is why cover 4 is so meta, because cover 4 does a decent job against the seam streaks. If you aren't in cover 4, you are really asking to give up seam streaks consistently, which is what Des just did. If you ever call cover 3 in this game, it's very easy to give up seam streaks. So here's see it again. Good defense from Fancy. And you're going to see Fancy kind of change his strategy and basically go into the send for dollar with switch sticking being his primary defensive component. Notice he moves this safety back a little bit to keep him from getting bombed. He's got a potential of cover 6 Willie, potential of edge blitz here. So he can blitz there, he can blitz there. That's kind of in general what you're going to see. Notice Dez going to go play action, so this should dumb out any of the pressure, but you're still going to get some sheds. And so Dez, you see, no pressure here. Does get a shed, is switch stick in the corner and stopping what Dez wants to do. Again, notice significant difference in the second half defense from Fancy versus the first half. First half, really very simple for Dez. Not really, just open player after open player. Second half here, all of a sudden he's switch sticking all over the field. Here's cover 6 Willie. There's another almost stop right there. Notice the facial expressions from him. And so you just kind of see this game significantly shift at halftime when Fancy decides switch sticking is the best way to get a stop. I have the best switch stick in the country. And now I'm going to be sending 4 out of dollar, and I'm going to try to switch stick one of your routes. I'm going to try to jump one of your plays. I'm going to adjust with my switch stick as the primary defense. And this is where you really saw this cement, this idea of the send for dollar with switch sticking, which honestly a lot of people have been doing. Here's a mix in send 5, and notice instant dot, right? Only got a yard, but instant, everything's open. This is why you need to be majority of your defenses, from my perspective, needs to be send 4. Gonna go to 6-1 here. Don't love this, but hopefully he's gonna be switching out of it. Notice he's bringing these safeties or these corners, backing them off a little bit to try to get them to be able to play different zones. So that's not just an outside quarter. You can kind of put a cloud out there that can kind of hang. You see here, there's at send 4. He is going to switch stick a little bit more. There he does, and boom. One of the things you notice about Fancy with his switch sticks, because as the game goes on, he's going to get your tendencies. He's going to learn the routes that you want to do. This happens in a lot of games that Fancy plays. The first half, he's kind of figured out what you want to do, and the second half is just straight up a clamp because he's kind of knows your tendencies, knows your routes, knows where you want to go with the ball. So 4th and 9, big down from Dez. Fancy back in that dollar, not in 6-1. Love to see it. And Dez going to go to tight open mesh spot for his bread. Got a little flat wheel combo. Going to motion that wheel out on the right side. Try to attack cover 2 with that wheel. And going to take a delay. Now what do you do? 4th and 14. You probably still go for this, don't you? Odd decision to take a delay. And Fancy going to take a page out of Dez's book. Go to the big nickel over G. And he switch sticks, swats, and that is a stop. And you saw right there, touchdown, stop, touchdown, stop. A significant shift in this game. Fancy now has full control. Fancy's able to go up 7 here and really just turn the tides when it was really not looking great for him. Going into that half, there's a tight end. Should just scramble up the middle there. I don't know why he trucked. I don't know what he's doing there. Somehow he recovers the fumble. Think he was trying to slide. I don't know why he trucked. Just a mistake and didn't have to pay for it. Little table route from motion line post. Super fortunate that he did not fumble on that. And now Fancy, you're just in a good position. I mean, it's you do want to score 7 here. If you set up for 3, Dez is also in a good position at that point. So the way this clock is kind of going is also kind of relevant. Big hit from that running back, big touchdown. And here you see one of the most popular coverages. This is a great route combo because one of the most popular coverages in this game on this right side here is we're going to middle third this guy, we're going to vert hook, and we're going to cloud. I run this a lot. You got a flat, you got that wheel from tight end in, and then on this backside, completely hot rod a combo streak, which is going to pull that third. Now they have to user this route. This is a check down over the middle, but then really the main route is that. And if you take a look at this play, take a look at what happens on the zone. Look at what you get. Middle third, yellow zone, hard flat, or just protect the sticks flat. On a backside, we basically have everybody manned up. Dez looking for this right here, and the running back completely naked, under pressure. Fancy's able to see it, able to hit it, and able to score touchdown in a big time moment of this game. Also, big advantage to Fancy is he's scored with plenty of time, so Dez can't just clock him out and make this last possession, which I think is super significant. All right, so this is kind of a stay alive drive. Going to go back to that bunch wide flex, bunch wide, and hits a speed out on the left side. One of the harder routes in the game to switch to is those speed outs. That's why you see those speed outs really start to become a very popular route in this game off of a 5 wide type of look. I'm going to motion this out again. So here, he's going to bluff a speed out, but now he's going to have a wheel. So Fancy, you see how Fancy switch sticks? There's that wheel for that. So decent little change up from Dez. And now we get a 2nd and 3 situation. Going to go to trips, I would assume. Not going to go to trips. Going to go Trey Y flex for this glitchy fade on the left side, trying to pop cover 2 on the left if Fancy happens to be in it. He has the streak pressure, just enough pressure. Just enough. Send for pressure, gets home, and he is able to get just enough pressure for a touchdown. 3rd and 3 situation coming up. Trey Y flex again. Dez is going to go back to the exact same play. Thinks Fancy going to play do the same. Fancy's can just straight up cover 4 hard fly. He did run that cover 2 on the right side, but he did switch stick. Dez did not run the wheel route. Able to get out of his quarterback and put him in a position. He picks up the first down, and now he's going to have a 1st and 10, fresh set of downs. Going to go to curl flat out of trip tight end, drag the tight end. Typical setup here. Not going to do that. He's going to look to hit the speed out on the left side. Actually, no. He's kind of changing his mind. Indecisive. And he does go with that streak, and he should catch that, but he gets KO. Nice little KO from Fancy there. Dez loving the strips against this compressed dollar look, this double safety dollar walk down look here. Fancy, look at that great switch kick onto that safety. Able to hit a nice check down, and yeah, I mean, you're just seeing really good Madden played. Fancy's jumping the big routes. Dez is taking the check downs. He's not getting greedy. So good Madden on both sides. Here was that play ran earlier, the double corner. Streak the running back, streak the tight end, double seam streaks, got him manned up, and there's that drag. Again, one of the best counters to switch stick, in my opinion, is underneath passing. The drags, those underneath routes, really can, I think, because switch stick is really designed to do a good job against the bigger routes, crossers, posts, corners. You get these underneath routes, which Dez is hitting a lot on this drive. These just little underneath things to be able to keep the drive alive. There's a speed out. Probably had it, but didn't end up throwing it. And you see another underneath route for Dez. And yeah. Go dagger, tight end post, streak, drag. Fancy left the fade. And great. He tried to recover, wasn't able to, and Fancy knows it. And yeah, it's a big touchdown from Dez. Kind of decision time for Dez. He is going to put 5 in the pattern, go into it for 2, and going to complete it. Again, they don't have mid-zone KO. Going to complete it. So Dez does get the lead, which does put some pressure on Fancy. But 3:33, Fancy should be able to kind of simply just clock this game out, get his field goal. He really only is realistically, if you think about it, he's got to get to the 50. He needs about 50 yards, which in this game is not hard to come by whatsoever. So we'll see how he chooses to play it. Probably going to start out with a run, goes base first play. Dez shoots in the backfield. Good job by Dez. 2nd and 11. 324. We're going to see Dez's best stuff defensively on this drive. This is where you're going to see him really trying to get that stop and really, really trying to win this game in the end here. So you're going to see you're not hiding anything. This is going to be like his defense. So it's mid blitz, it's show blitz, it's back off the outside corners. We're going to probably use her the slot corner, but against trips, we move him out here. And now we're going to get from Fancy one of his favorite plays, that halfback angle that's been so good for him. And guess what? That time Dez is ready for it. Sends 6, heavy underneath coverage, and Fancy has to throw it away. And honestly, kind of fortunate he didn't get it intentional. So 3rd and 11 here. Again, notice the movement of these guys, sending everybody. Dez's strategy is to literally send the crib. I think that time he sent 7 at him. And then we get a big 4th and 3. This is the game. Huge play. Fancy seam streak into double coverage. Remember the catch that Dez made in the end zone. Fancy kind of gets very fortunate. A lot of this fortunate, a lot of this like randomness, a lot of this ability to catch stuff when you probably shouldn't be able to is due to the fact that at this point in the game, nobody's using mid-zone KO on their safeties. If they had mid-zone KO on their safeties, more than likely some of those plays don't happen. Fancy breaks a run, which is huge, puts him basically into field goal range and able to take it down the 2-minute warning. Dez has 3 timeouts. Basically, you got to get a stop. Fancy runs first down, 2nd and 5 situation. What a lot of these guys like to do is if you're going to pass, a lot of people like to pass on 2nd and 5 because you could take a sack if nothing is there and you're still not in a bad situation, or you get a dot. So Fancy's going to be looking to, so he was trying to throw that, I think that drag, but if he takes a sack there, then you still have a pretty favorable chance of getting the first down. So anyways, 3rd and 5, kind of same route combo from Fancy. That motion and streak, I've hated that route all game long. He hits the drag open, possession. Fancy falls down, and he is going to be in a really good position. And that was a 3rd and 5. Fancy does probably go for that on 4th down. I'm not sure if he does, but he does probably go for that on 4th down. Really good he got it on 3rd down, right? Goes to eye close stretch. That is his run. If you want a good run out of Lions playbook, it is eye form close halfback stretch. That is what we're seeing him go to consistently when he needs to be able to run the ball, as well as a good shotgun run, bunch X nasty, halfback base. Those are kind of the 2 main runs that we've seen pop throughout this game. Fancy trying to take all this clock down, and this is basically just going to be all about the clock here. Ideally for Fancy, he does get a first here. But he is not. Dez going to stand up for himself. 3rd and 5. So if Dez gets a stop here, he's going to have about 40 seconds. So Fancy has a decision. Do you pass? Do you not pass? The reason I don't think you pass here is I don't know for sure. I think he is going to ultimately pass. It's kind of a tough decision because of that 2-point conversion. Because Fancy, if he doesn't get this, he can really easily lose that game. There's that stop. So now you get 4th and 5. This is a really interesting decision for Fancy. If you go for this and you don't get it, obviously the game's over. If you do kick 3, though, you give Dez the ball with 40 seconds. He's just got to get a field goal to win. Kind of not easy, but very realistic situation for Dez. That's why that 2-point conversion was so critical. So Fancy chooses to put it all on the line right here. 4th and 5. He's going to take a timeout. Think about it a little bit. Make sure he's in that right play call. But it's going to be bunch X nasty. Flip it. Motion cross post for the bread. We've seen this play all game long. Goes to it. And Dez gives up the seam streak. The most basic route in Madden 25 is the seam streak. It's the route that you have to be able to stop. Dez chooses not to stop it. He puts a hook zone at 5. Drops all the way down. And that does not stop seam streaks. And Fancy is going to take this one and put himself in a really good position to win his 2nd belt. Does still have time for a Hail Mary, big play. That's why this 2-point conversion is also really important. Fancy cannot throw an interception here. This has to be a run, in my opinion. He is going to call a timeout. I think the timeout's kind of wise. Really no use for those timeouts anyway in this situation. You're trying to make sure you get your best possible play call in this situation. You cannot throw a pick. You either take a sack or you throw a wide open player. And it's going to go back to that same play. He missed it last time. This time he doesn't miss it. That flat smoke screen combo. Pass lead that smoke screen straight up. And those yellows are going to struggle. Those flats are going to struggle to be able to defend it. Huge 2-point conversion for Fancy. And now Dez is going to get the ball kind of in a tough spot to be able to win. Now Dez is going to try to be attacking the sideline. Fancy's going to be switch sticking on the hard flats. Yeah. And Dez there just takes off with Levis, gets some good yardage. Here he's going to get audible to trips. And let's see what he does. End up going with a seam streak on the left side. That's a tough cover in this game. Hits that speed out. Got his feet down. And he did get out of bounds there. It's actually crazy. So Dez moving. Gonna get himself a pretty good shot here. Gonna go double corner with that running back motion out streak. Again, really trying to attack the sideline. This time he goes speed out on that left side. So he can attack kind of the sideline both ways. Actually changes it up last second. Throws a corner route right into a pocket. That's got to be a timeout. 20 seconds left for Dez. So if you're fancy here, you're seeing kind of the same thing as that cover four. Is that, you know, we're going to try to just take away everything big, keep everything in front of us is really the goal here. We'll see if he's able to do it. Goes to edge blitz, cover four, shell. Nice quick dot there to the right side, but I don't think he got his feet amount. Tight open for the bread. Love to see it. If you ever call tight open for your bread and Madden, boy, you're crazy. Dez going to go to that tight open, going to motion out that speed out. You're going to see there that Fancy's going to have that covered. See, we'll take with a speed out, throws a flat route, and Fancy able to catch and able to wrap him up inbounds. And Dez not going to be able to get a playoff. That's going to be GG's. One of the best games of the year. Wanted to re-break this one down for you. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching the video. And yeah, if you guys, thanks for watching the video. And if you guys want to learn more about the channel, just make sure you're subbed up to it. And yeah, Fancy versus Dez, absolute classic matchup.